So we're going to be back into the 50s as early as 7 o'clock. And of course, the concert starts at 7. But whatever you might be doing, whether it be outdoors or indoors, the rodeo certainly could be one of those activities. And this is very warm temperatures. I think it was 1954 the last time we've been this warm on the second to last day, or let's say the 27th of February, because it changes as far as how many days there are. But 86 degrees, bottom line, tied the record high temperature at Intercontinental Airport, the city's official recording site. So record warm temperatures even for the city of Houston yesterday, but we are changing that. We're not going to see that today. As I mentioned, we're going to be in the 60s. So this number will probably continue to be updated as we go through the day. So our graphic is labeled as lows this morning. Well, it might even be what your current temperature is right now, because our temperatures are not going to rise anymore, and they'll probably end up even cooler than this before the 24-hour period is over. So most of us saw that this morning. But as you can see, we're a little bit warmer than those numbers right now, but still much cooler than where we have been. It's 58 degrees in Huntsville. Belleville sitting at 61, 67 down in Angleton. Now we'll compare these temperatures to this same time yesterday. And, well, we're 10 to 18 degrees cooler right now. The exception would be, of course, Galveston. Right on the water there, it's a little bit different. Plus, that front hasn't quite completely reached, I think, down to the south yet, to Galveston Island. You could see that, definitely seeing that cooler air reaching towards the coast, but haven't really seen the impacts of it as much. And our winds help to indicate that just a little bit. Where we have that north wind at 24 miles an hour with a gust of 35 up in Huntsville, and then when we look at Galveston, as well as perhaps over in Anahuac, it's more of a west wind, and they're much lower in number, less than 10 miles an hour. So that's helping to indicate where that actual boundary is. But we go up to Pearland, and we see that we are getting those north winds with a gust of 25 miles an hour. So that's right where the boundary is, between basically Pearland and Galveston is where we're expecting to see that right now. Dayton beginning to get a little bit more of those gusty winds as well. So we'll continue to see this front move on through. Of course, we're just drawing this in as best estimate as we can. Notice the rain is well behind where this frontal boundary is, and we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But also note these temperatures across the state. While it's 62 in Houston, it's 46 in Tyler, 42 in Dallas, and there are the 30s up in the Panhandle. So big cool down for sure, and that's changing our pattern as we move forward. So if the rodeo is in your plans for the next 3 days, again, counting today, definitely look for those windy conditions, temperatures in the 60s. When we get to tomorrow, our high temperatures should stay out of the 60s, only in the mid to the upper 50s. We'll keep a 30% chance of rain. It'll be light rain if you see it. And again, we're looking for that light rain possibilities again on Friday. This is why we've got kind of rain in the forecast. And it's primarily because in the upper levels of the atmosphere, more or less from the Pacific Ocean, we have moisture that's surging in across the state. So while the front is happening at the surface where we are, way up high, that's where all this moisture is. Some of that moisture is able to fall all the way down to the surface in the form of rain, light showers, but a lot of that is evaporating as it falls, and so it doesn't actually quite reach the surface. So light rain is the type of precipitation that we're going to continue to have in the forecast. And I do want to point out that there are some very cold temperatures even further. I pointed out that it was 30 in the Panhandles. Well, Omaha sitting at 19 degrees right now, current temperatures. And that rain kind of follows that boundary a little bit closer, where we're seeing some stormier weather over to the southeast portions of the U.S. So we certainly have plenty of cloud cover associated with that upper level moisture, but where it's a little bit heavier, we're looking at the rain staying behind that. Here's another look at some of those winds and the fact that there is a wind advisory for most of our counties. We've got a handful of counties here that are not included into that. That's going to go till 6 o'clock today. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not something that impacts us completely, but maybe in one of those both hands on the wheel kind of things when you're driving around. And the radar is clear. So while there's might be that little mist or drizzle, that doesn't really show up on our radar very well. So we're looking at rain-free, at least for the moment. We keep a 10% chance of rain in the forecast just because it is so much moisture that's out there. Currently 58 degrees in Huntsville. Conroe is at 60. Intercontinental Airport 62. Downtown Houston and Hobby at 67 degrees. We'll continue to see those continuing to cool. Just kind of wanted to show these wind reports because this is where we're seeing some of that wildfire. Let me back up here just to make sure we sort of have that discussion continue. There's definitely been some wildfire. Make sure you're tuning in at the top of our newscast at noon, coming up in about 22, 23 minutes or so. There will be a story about these wildfires that are in the Panhandle. But look, this is what's really attributing to that. Lots and lots of wind. We're now seeing some of that wind. Now, floating around in the atmosphere as early as or as much as this past weekend, we began to see that oak pollen showing on our vehicles a little bit and just sort of becoming a little bit more visible. And today they're certainly being read with our instruments. We're seeing those higher levels of that particulate. So oak levels are kind of on the climb and they're going to keep heading up. If we can get some real rain, that would help, but we just don't have a lot of rain to talk about in the forecast. North wind, 20 miles an hour. I haven't talked about the dew points yet, and that's basically the measurement of the moisture that's in the air. As I mentioned, at the surface where we are, it's relatively dry. 40s are dry, especially for Houston, as far as the dew points are concerned. And that's why when that moisture is able to fall from the upper levels, it evaporates when it gets into that drier air. And so that's something that we're going to continue to see. So the front continues to move on through. We keep the clouds, we keep the wind, and we keep the temperatures in the 60s. They're going to continue, they're going to want to fall. So as soon as we lose any sight of sun, they're certainly going to be falling. And you're not going to see a lot of sun, but some of the sunshine will make it through these fairly dense looking clouds. It'll be a chilly evening tonight if you're headed out to the rodeo or whatever your evening plans might be, moving around the neighborhood or in the backyard. It'll be definitely cooler than what we've had. Overnight lows will be in the 40s. Man, it seems like a long time since I've said that. And it shouldn't have to be that long since I said it. We're in February. You would expect to see temperatures in the 40s quite a bit in the overnights, but it just seems like it has been a while since we've had lows in the 40s, at least where I've been able to say that. Here comes that lighter rain that I was talking about. So definitely some showers possible for tomorrow and into Friday. And you notice a little bit of the yellow popping in here. Those are the heavier downpours. Maybe a little thunder and lightning, but generally speaking, this is not stormy weather that we're talking about for Thursday and Friday. But certainly rain is going to be a possibility, and I would categorize it as scattered showers, not a washout. But with the cooler temperatures and the rain, it's going to feel a little bit like February, as a matter of fact. At least one of those days technically will be February. When we get into Saturday and Sunday, I think we're going to drop our rain chances quite a bit for sure. Won't be impossible to see a shower, but I think it'll be a lot less likely. And then our temperature is also going to be making that climb up. And I'll just step back out of the way here. I don't want to focus too much on Monday and Tuesday because, well, there's rain back in the forecast again. And maybe you're looking for some rain. So that's going to be good news for you. For the rest of us, though, if we have to have the rain, I'll take it starting the work week and not over the weekend anyway. As I mentioned, we have a Fox 26 News at noon coming up in about 20 minutes. However you're watching me right now, you'll be able to see that, and you'll get the latest on not just the weather, but everything happening across the Houston area. I'll expect to see you then.